Okay, so maybe we should get to our list of questions that were provided by the audience of things that we've gotten horrifically wrong on the podcast.
Have you been warned about how terrible we are at science?
I've been shown the list of things, which gives me a little bit of an indication. I wouldn't say they're really interesting questions, actually, and bringing it back to Oxford, they kind of remind me of Oxford interview questions.
Here's what happens with our science. It's like 4 idiots. Well, I'll be idiot prime.
Yeah.
And then it just bounces between 4 idiots and then into a snowball of idiocy. And that's how we come up with these questions.
I tend to stay out of it and just let it go between these 3 mostly.
Okay.
But it all stems from this one.
Okay, well, today you can take charge.
Yes.
And we're going to involve everybody in the science.
All right, so I've got a list here. Like I said, I made a journal on the Rooster Teeth website, and I asked people to submit their favorite bad science moments from the podcast. Got a list, and we're going to talk about them here. So the first one.
Very sciencey.
You look good, Barbara.
I wanted to feel smarter for this section of the podcast, so I'm wearing Bernie's glasses.
The first one was my stupid. I feel like this is the stupidest I've ever been on the podcast. Can an airplane take off on a slippery runway? AKA, could an airplane take off if it was on a treadmill and not actually moving forward?
And what did you say at the time?
At the time, I said no.
It would be impossible.
He said that an airplane couldn't take off without wheels.
Right.
Because it needs the wheels spinning to take off.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said.
Right.
But really, right, it's just the thrust from the jets. It could slide along ice and take off, right?
So
if it wanted to.
Could a jet take off on a treadmill?
So if you've got an airplane on a treadmill, and this means that the airplane is being pushed backwards, but it is rolling itself forward and is staying in the same place. Basically, it's equivalent, I'm not a physicist, by the way, but it's equivalent to just having the wheels moving and none of the air around the aeroplane moving. Having a massive aeroplane and just some tiny wheels moving isn't going to lift a massive aeroplane.
So I have a question.
Do you? What's your question?
We should preface something very important that Sally just said. You're not a physicist.
No, I am
A lot of these are physics questions.
I haven't even done a full physics GCSE. I did dual science at school.
So you do more like biology kind of stuff.
Very much biology, but I can give you a good stat.
But you're still probably way smarter than all 4 of us.
If it makes you feel any better, we're also really horrible at sex. So you can answer some of those questions for us.
So does that count to any speed? Like, say the treadmill was 20,000 miles an hour, and somehow the plane was also going.
All that's happening.
Just the lack of air.
If you change your perspective on it, if you look at the plane as stationary, there are no forces acting on it other than the wheels spinning around. Because the air isn't moving around it.
What about gravity?
If the air doesn't move over the wing, there's no change in pressure.
This is the thing. The way that an airplane lifts is that you have air flowing underneath the wings, and the shape means that you get thrust.
So if there was a massive fan and the plane was still, could it then take off without going anywhere?
If you had an absolutely massive fan that was angled in the right way, then I suppose probably yes.
Yes.
So you've
effectively just blown an object into the air.
Right. It doesn't really.
It's like if I send a massive blast wave at an object, will it move? Yes.
So you'd have to have like a 200-mile-an-hour blast of wind out of this fan.
Chances are it might move. Yes.
The most important thing I got from that conversation is massive thrust.
I was going to ask the dumbest question ever, which is if you took a massive fan and attached it to the front of the plane and blew on the plane, could the plane then take off and fly? But that's basically what a propeller is. That's basically what a propeller is.
I don't think the fan would like that very much, personally.
What? Take a fan to the plane? It'd be an enormous fan.
Can I also say, you keep on saying the dumbest questions. Like they're just questions. Like that's how science works.
Don't try to make us feel better about this. It's not going to work.
Okay.
Really?
Okay. Well, let me ask you a really dumb question.
Dumb is what pays the bills.
A really interesting.
This is a really.
She's like a really nice
question.
teacher in elementary school.
So we had a conversation. Gavin here, who's our medical expert, said, if you were feeling sick, or like let's say you're feeling nauseous, that you could tell yourself in your mind, just stop.
Just don't.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yes.
It is.
Is it really? Are you kidding?
So, well, this is the thing. So I was thinking about this. I'm no medic. I'm just going to put a disclaimer. I don't actually know the answer to any of these questions, but I can give it a good go. So there are people that can self-hypnotize. And these people can self-hypnotize to the extent that they can have surgery. So there are YouTube videos, I think, of people having their wisdom teeth pulled out, of having open chest surgery.
I watched a video
just under hypnosis.
of a woman. She had to keep like a little ball of spit on her tongue, and she just had to concentrate on that. And they were like cutting the back of her leg open, like moving veins around and stuff. And she was just like completely conscious, and her leg was open, and they were just hacking into it. Not like, but
oh
just
my
like,
God.
Yeah.
So, corollary, or a secondary follow-up question to this. If you're dying of starvation, let's say you're in a desert.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of Sahara
get
Desert.
so specific.
You're dying of starvation.
Yeah, the Atacama Desert won't do. It has to be the Sahara.
10 feet in front of you, you see a sandwich. Can you live long enough knowing that there's a sandwich just barely? If you live just a little longer, you could grab the sandwich.
This originated from like, whenever someone starves to death in the desert, they end up somewhere. Like, the guy died here. But my thinking was, if he was here and saw a sandwich here, would he have kept on living just further enough to get the sandwich, or would he have still died there?
So, yes and no. So there are things where it's amazing what the brain can do, and they do say that if you kind of give people incentives to live, then you can kind of push that a little bit further. And there are things where if you play music to people, for example, that really changes things. So when people are in comas and they think, oh no, all is lost, and then they play the music and then suddenly you see brainwaves. And if you have people that had degenerate diseases, so maybe Alzheimer's, for example, if you treat them as if they don't have it, then to some extent the brain kind of compensates and they show fewer symptoms.
Really?
It's things like brain training.
This is starting to scare me. I'm starting to think I have something, and you guys are just acting like I don't.
So the brain is incredible. Whether it can go to the extent of starvation, I don't know. But, I mean, the brain can do some really crazy things. Because you think of the placebo effect. Like, the placebo effect is that people think that homeopathy is amazing because it does have an effect. It's just the effect is no better than a placebo. But the placebo is still your brain changing how you feel. And that's a pretty powerful thing. So, in a sense, maybe? I don't know.
So for homeopathic medicines, a lot of times they are very clear to state that these things don't do anything. Like, there's a study, and the government will say, I think the Australian Board of Medicine just recently said homeopathic remedies don't do anything. But is it almost, in a way, a little bit irresponsible to do that because you're robbing people of a very real, potentially placebo effect?
I'm fairly certain that there are studies that show that even if you tell people it's a placebo effect, they still feel the placebo effect.
Really?
I think. I don't know if it's the same strength, but I'm fairly certain that you do still get it. So I can take placebo things and still get the same effect.
I wonder if someone could you know, in a way, instigate that. Like, you're educated about the placebo effect. If someone, a doctor, a trained professional that you would trust, said, here's a sugar pill, this has a placebo effect that will cure your indigestion, and then you take it, even if you just like made that up on the spot. If you could like induce a placebo effect for something.
So this is the big. So we got firstly the lab coat effect, which is that we're more likely to believe people in lab coats. So that if a person in a lab coat gives it to you, the placebo effect will be stronger.
Really?
Another thing about the placebo effect that's really cool is 2 pills work better than 1, even if they're sugar pills. An injection, a saline injection, works better than a pill. Sham surgery works. So the more invasive and the more horrible you think it is, the more benefit you think you're going to get.
I'm going to start wearing a lab coat.
I never thought about this. So then, when people do like placebo studies, it's not just a pill every time. There's also injections or like a whole wide array.
There's a whole thing, yeah. And you got things like blue pills work better when you need to calm someone down, and red pills work better when you need to spruce someone up.
What about if the pills are given to you by Lawrence Fishburne?
I was going to make that fucking joke.
From The Matrix.
Yeah. Do you get thrown into reality?
I've got to say, as someone who
remember which one was which.
As someone who wears a lab coat a lot, I feel happy with this information.
I don't think anyone believes.
I was going to say, I need to start wearing a lab coat now, from now on, no matter what.
Wear a lab coat on the pod. You know, it is true, though. When you wear the lab coat on Slow-Mo Guys, people are always marveling about how intelligent you are on Slow-Mo Guys versus every other moment of your life when they don't marvel at how
While you were saying this, I was thinking I should also be wearing a monocle. Like, would that help as well?
Because then you have a lab coat, an English accent, and a monocle. You are
it's
officially intelligent.
You're set.
That's all you need.
Okay, I'm gonna work my way down the list here.
You got it.
Next one. Okay, so this one requires a little bit of setup. The basic question is, what is the speed of push?
Oh, this is a really interesting question, because I actually know the answer to this one.
So the setup is, if you had a pole that was 1 light year long, and you pushed it on one end, how long does it take the push to travel down the entire length of the pole to get to the other end?
Do you know why this is such an interesting question?
Because I don't know the answer.
Because nobody has a 1 light year long pole. Not even a barnacle.
You don't know.
You don't know me.
Weak.
Well, the thought is that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, okay? And that includes information. And it's really important that you know the universe has this speed limit on it, which is the speed of light. And so the thought was, well, if we have a pole that's 1 light year long, and we pushed it, and it instantaneously got pushed at the other end, that would mean that information was travelling instantaneously in the time it would take light, in a space that would take light a year to do.
Right.
Which means the information would be travelling faster than the speed of light, which wouldn't be possible. And so the reason that it's not is because actually what you're doing when you push is you're compressing the atoms in the material and sending a pressure wave all the way down the material. And pressure wave through a material is what sound is. So the pressure wave will only travel through the material at the speed of sound, and that's why it would take you much, much longer.
Which, compared to the speed of light, is slow as hell.
Yes.
So does that mean, say I have this pole that's a light year long.
Right.
I'm at one end like this, like ready to give it a right shove. And you're at the other end, bent over, and it's like right next to your anus.
Go
like
ahead.
This.
Let me hold the table so you don't drop that.
Would you let
You
me
have my attention now.
Would you let me shove it?
If I have a light year to figure
You have more
that
than a
out?
light year, because if it moves at the speed of
I
sound.
mean, obviously, it's nothing's gonna happen to you. But would
I have
you feel?
a year.
Would
a
you
light
feel?
year's a year.
yeah, but you
right?
have more than a year.
Would you
Because
feel
it's not
weird about
traveling
it?
at the speed of light.
Oh, yeah, I have more than a year. Yeah.
You have, like, thousands of years.
So my question is, how is there anywhere on Earth where you could replicate that lag? Like, could you ever observe the lag on Earth? Like, if you had a pole that was like 1,000 miles long, would
Well, it seems to me that if I measured a pole, right, and then I pushed it and took a picture of it, the pole would be shorter in the photo. No, look, because it's compressed.
It's compressed.
It's
yeah.
I guess it's compressed on an atomic level, but it seems like that measurably, if that's true at a light year, then it's true. It's a constant, so it's true at this level as well.
I think here's how this theory falls apart. If you had a 1,000-mile long pole, you just couldn't push it, could you? It would just take so much effort
It'd
to
be
push
too
it.
Not on
heavy.
Earth. Not on Earth.
You
right?
get a machine to push it. It wouldn't be a person. Yeah, just get, like, some science thing.
You'd have to go to some science thing. Thanks, guys. You'd have to go to space because you couldn't. I mean, 1,000 miles would curve.
Well, I
with the
mean,
Earth.
even in space, you would shove it, and you would end up like going that way, wouldn't you? Because it's going to be
Put
way
thrust-
heavier than you.
put
No,
thrusters
you just
on
like
it.
put your back up against the moon. You push like that. That's
some
how you.
leverage.
That's how you do it in space, dude. That's how
Just
everybody
find
does
a
that.
moon, put your back up
So
against
I'm
it.
Or
picturing
you do that
you-
swimming thing that like moves you around in space. That works, right?
Okay, I just have a couple more, so I want to get through these. I'm gonna skip.
By the way,
one
of all of
here.
our death scenarios we've come up with, I would hate more. We talked about like being stranded in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Okay.
Recently, being trapped in a spacesuit, flipping through space. That would be the worst way to die. And just waiting for your air to run
Just
out.
shut-
If
gravity, right?
Well, if you're flipping too fast, and the blood will drain from your face.
Or we go up. If you're flipping like this, right?
Yeah.
This would go
Oh,
out.
it depends
One
which way
way
you're
or the
spinning, yeah.
other.
Yeah, and then it's
But either way, you'll probably black out.
yeah. Let's hope so, right? I mean, because then you're in a situation where you can't actually
Do anything.
You can't even kill yourself.
Yeah.
Not
Can
to
you
be
just
morbid.
take off your helmet?
I
Orange
wonder if
monkey eagle.
spacesuits have some kind of like suicide thing built into them.
Well, like a bunch
You
of
would hope
spikes.
so.
That was actually. You ever see the
Like
movie
an
Contact
injection.
with
No,
Jodie Foster?
I haven't.
I can't pronounce anything. Foster. They have a great moment in that
Foster.
film where she's going to go into this like experimental like rift-making machine. They never say it in the movie, but it basically makes a wormhole. And at the last moment they give her a pill, and they say something that's like so profound but like so frightening at the same time. They say, you could get trapped, you could be without air. This will kill you instantly without pain. It's for a lot of reasons, but mainly it's for all the reasons that we can't think of. That's why you need to bring this pill with you. And it's like such a frightening thing. It's like when scientists are doing things and they're pushing the envelope, they're going into environments where they just don't know.
What is the
And it's
speed of push of an envelope?
Oh my god.
But it's like so crazy to think about that. It's like you have to acknowledge the limits of where we are in our knowledge, and just realize that like we just don't know. You know what I mean? We could like when they broke the sound barrier, they didn't really know what would happen. You know what I mean? And
They
the
thought it
first-
was impossible,
right.
and it was like if it happens, we don't know what's gonna happen.
Right. I mean, we deal with that with the Hadron Collider, where it's like there's a lot of people going, it's going to make a micro black hole and like suck everything in, and but we don't know. But that's why we're doing it, just to figure out what it will do.
Well, we know that it won't cause a black hole.
What does it make micro ones, and they just don't have the gravity? No, not at all. So how did that start? Like, how does that?
The Daily Mail.
Oh, really?
Good answer. Fair play.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So, fundamental question: how many senses do people have?
Oh shit! I don't want to be involved
Okay.
in this conversation.
I want to say, first of all, this conversation has been skewed as to what I was saying. I said that there's 5 senses one time. I said, well, the 5 human senses.
Okay.
Gavin corrected me,
Yeah.
and he said, you're absolutely wrong. There's more than 5 senses. And I said, how many are there? He goes, well, there's way more than 5. And I said, first of all, a sense is an arbitrary distinction. calling something a sense. It's not like there's a classification.
Yeah, but surely a sense is you receive information some way, and you learn about your surroundings.
Well, you said there's a sense of gravity, right? That was one of your classifications?
Well, like you can sense which way up you are.
But nobody can say how many senses there are. Even though they tell me that I'm wrong, that when I say there's 5, everyone else says, no, you're absolutely wrong. And it's, well, how many are they? Go, don't know. But more than 5. It's like if it's a solid answer and this distinction is something that you can apply to something, then you would know when you've run out of senses.
Well, surely it's like how many colors are there?
Nope.
There's more than 5. Well, but how many are there?
I'm not saying there's 5
You make a
colors.
valid point, Gavin.
I think I do.
Yeah, that was a pretty good point.
No, but if listen, I mean, seriously, if you ask me, I'm trying to count in my head here, but if I said there's 7 colors, and you said, no, there's way more than that, you would essentially be right because you can have this refinement of colors, but guess what? There's really only 7 colors.
There's really only 3. There's only 3, right?
Right. Even that, you could even say there's just 3. There's
I have
colors.
a question.
Go ahead.
What are you on about?
So, but do you understand what I'm saying?
We're giving context. That's like you can have everything.
It's the refinement that's arbitrary to me. I'm sorry, I'm taking away from your time.
All right.
So I'm just, I always get upset when this comes up.
So
it's been a very heated
all of this
debate
aside, how many senses are there?
So this is the point where I was told that I would be having to combat your bad science.
I'm going to hold my mute button.
But the answer is more than 5.
You guys didn't hear that, but Bernie said that's such bullshit. He muted his microphone.
Mute your thing? I didn't want to offend our guest.
So, for example, God, it takes more than that to offend me. So we have proprioception, which is if you shut your eyes, you know where your arms are in relation to the rest of your body.
And I was explaining stuff like this, like temperature and all that other stuff. He was just saying that's feel, and it's the same thing as feeling.
It's a refinement of the sense of touch.
Yeah, that was it.
No.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. How many senses are there?
More than 5.
All right.
Yeah. Don't worry, Bernie. I'm with you. You and me.
Right.
We're together.
But I mean, this is the thing. I mean, there are difficulties in how you classify things. And as humans, we do like to put things into little boxes. And as a biologist, you get into all kind of stuff with that. So as someone who studies evolution, we're like, oh, what's a species? It's like, you're literally trying to take something that we have shown to be on a continuum and say, where does it start and where does it stop? You're always going to have problems. And with senses, I mean, you could say that sound is a special type of touch because actually it's how the pressure interacts with the cilia in your ears. And so in that sense, it's very difficult to make the distinction between, well, what is this type of sense and what is this type of sense? But by most people's definition of interpreting the world and taking in stimuli, we have more than 5.
Fair enough. Well, what you're saying, I totally agree with. The thing that I reject is the fact that people tell me that I'm wrong about that, because that's the refinement that I choose to use.
Right.
I want you to be on every single podcast that we ever do from this point on.
Only because she's proving you right.
I want you to be here instead of him. You're like the smart version of him.
We'll get the British tag out.
I've only got 2 more.
All right.
2 more here. Okay, so let's say we're here on Earth, and
let's say.
It's hard to imagine.
So imagine that we're on a planet called Earth.
Okay, think.
1 light year away in space, a mirror magically appears.
Oh, I love this question.
If we look at it...
How did you get onto this question?
If you're looking at this mirror from a telescope on Earth...
Because we have to talk for an hour and a half.
1 year in the past? Do you see in the past... Well, do you see in the past at all? If you see in the past, do you see 1 year in the past? Or do you see 2 years in the past, since it's 1, 2?
I like this question.
Could you look into the past?
2.
Okay.
It's like when you're looking in a mirror and you're doing your makeup and you've got to stand really, really close because what you're seeing
we all know that.
looks... Of course you do. What you're seeing looks to you twice as far away because you've got you, then the distance to the mirror, and what you're focusing on is the distance again the other side, which is why you have actually got to kind of stand much closer to get it. So you can actually see it and focus on it.
I like that explanation.
Also, whenever you take a picture of yourself in the mirror, your phone is always the same size to you. Wait, what is it?
What?
No.
Okay, so
if you wave your phone in front of a mirror, it magically changes size.
If the mirror magically appeared in space, you would have to wait. We would have to wait a year before we could see it because of the
imagine
distance.
if you sent a laser beam or a photon, a particle of light, just like that. You can imagine it taking a year to get to the mirror. You're not going to see it then. It has to bounce back for the information to come back to you.
So it would take another year.
Yeah.
So could you see in the past?
Yeah.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we use surveillance of the past, why don't we have this in place, ready to go?
Well, it's kind of called YouTube, where you have cameras and then stick it on the internet and you can watch things back from the past.
What if nobody was filming it? You'd go, we'll just look in the mirror, see what happened then.
But then
I'll look in the mirror in June, and we'll see what happened like 2 years ago in June.
You will have to have an infinite series of mirrors an infinite distance away to be able to, and you don't even have to start from now. But I mean, we see in the past when we look at stars. I'm guessing you know that.
Yeah.
And so we would have to have mirrors at each time point that we wanted to see.
Yeah, but we could set that up, and then just the NSA could take their giant telescope and be like, oh, we need to see what happened at this date, and turn to a specific mirror.
You think the NSA has a telescope?
The NSA is fucking... I mean, the NSA is great.
What if you don't have a mirror?
Satellite, maybe.
What if you just have like a mirrored sphere where...
I have tons of those.
They sponsored this podcast. Shout out to the NSA.
But also,
I want to hear the mirrored sphere. She brought up a point that really kind of blew my mind there, which is if I take my camera and I turn on the front-facing camera, I'm not... That's a shorter distance. Like, I'm looking at that flat on the screen, the image of myself.
Yes.
So my girlfriend uses hers now to look at her eyes and everything for eye makeup and stuff. So that kind of blew my mind. I never thought of a mirror as being three-dimensional. Right. But this is not three-dimensional.
Right, that there's depth to it. I never thought about that either.
There's a really interesting video on YouTube by Physics Girl, which is that mirrors flip things as well.
Well, like, you've only ever seen yourself in a mirror, but other people see you differently.
A different side,
Yeah, I filmed
the Abraham Lincoln thing, right?
I filmed a video with my wife the other day. We did like a little gameplay video.
Tell
it was a gameplay.
Tell us more. We're about to get back in your field of study here.
And she was looking at the monitor of us as we're sitting there playing a video game, and she said, you know, it looks weird. Something's wrong. And I said, well, this is, you know, a video image. This is you.
Yeah, what you actually look like.
Yeah, it's like, this is what you look like. You're not looking at yourself in a mirror. And it was like that whole like, oh, yeah, wow, that's really weird to see yourself that way.
Well, especially as someone who's got a side fringe. Like, I only got that done recently. It always surprises me that it goes the other way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I feel you.
It's so shocking.
Then it's like, should I start parting it the other way
so that
that's
it looks like what I
people
think
see?
it looks like?
Yeah. You guys don't.
What do you think about like when your cock goes one way?
I don't think about it very often. In the mirror, I'm always shocked. I'm like, what? Hanging left?
Where is it?
How did that happen?
I mean,
All right, last one.
Okay. All right, we got it.
We're going to end with a big one. Which is better, Celsius or Fahrenheit, a.k.a. metric or imperial?
No, wait. Let's... All right, go ahead. You can answer the question without any kind of bias.
Kelvin.
As a Brit, Celsius.
Way better.
As a scientist, Kelvin.
Fahrenheit, nowhere to be seen.
Well, here's...
God, I've been talking about barbecues and robots and stuff for these videos I've been making in America for GE, and they've been talking things at me in Fahrenheit. I don't even have a perception of what things are.
Well, it doesn't make any
right?
goddamn
here's the thing.
sense.
I was a big Celsius believer until I heard Bernie's explanation of why Fahrenheit is better.
I presented my case for Fahrenheit.
What was your case again?
May I present my case for Fahrenheit?
You must.
I'm going to counteract yours immediately after you finish talking.
Actually, before you say it, can I say what I think your argument might be?
What would it be?
So the 0 Fahrenheit is cold outside, 100 Fahrenheit is warm outside, and therefore that's the most important temperatures for people.
No, more so, I mean, we agree that the scale of 0 to 100 is something that we just lock onto as humans, right? That's an important scale.
Yeah.
So if you look at the Fahrenheit scale from 0 to 100, it's the survivable temperatures of human beings. That if you get above 100 degrees, you're in trouble of dying. And if you're in an environment that's below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, you're in very great danger of dying.
What happens if you got a jumper?
What's that?
What happens if you got a jumper or a sweater?
Did you guys switch places?
Yeah, I was like, oh, what?
And even like, you know, when I look at the useful scale of Celsius, it's very useful from 0 degrees up to about like 45. And then there's pretty much nothing between 45 and 100.
Yeah, but you could use the exact same argument for 212 is boiling in Fahrenheit, correct?
Which I realize is arbitrary.
So between 100 and 212, there's nothing.
Right, but we're focusing on the 0 to 100.
And so we don't use those very often.
And
why do you have to focus on 0 to 100?
There's more precision between 0 and 100 than there is between 0 and 45.
I'm just saying that for everyday people, for using a temperature scale, they're going to use the degrees of Fahrenheit
here's the way I
every
see
day.
it. I have a Nest at home.
Yeah.
It's stuck in Fahrenheit because of Meg. The difference between 74 degrees and 75 degrees, bollocks.
Huge.
Absolutely
Huge difference.
Are you having a laugh?
Let me tell you something. If
you know what it matters when you're in a relationship.
My Nest at home in the summer, I have an air conditioner set to 76.
I'm so confused. Why do you have Nests?
A Nest is a digital thermostat. It's a brand.
Okay.
We're not sat in
You can control it via your smartphone. So our in the summer, our thermostat is set to 76. If I move our thermostat to 77, my wife is instantly like, "Why is it so hot in here? What happened?" You know, and she can tell that 76 to 77 difference. There is
76.
So that's my house.
That's fucking hot.
I'm cheap.
Wow.
I don't want to spend money
on
fucking electricity.
Oh well, I guess in the summertime maybe. But
right. That's but in the winter, I'll set it to like, I don't know what I set it to, 70.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if I set it to 69,
then it's freezing cold.
I heard the saddest. What do you think is the biggest threat to humanity?
Other humans.
Wait. Did Bernie's argument about Fahrenheit persuade you at all?
That,
oh yeah, sure. I'm sorry. We got off topic.
That's a load of bull.
I'm gonna get my mute button going again.
I'm gonna get my mute button ready too.
Yeah.
Because saying that that's the survivable range for a human, well, humans can survive depending on what human you are, what mutations you have, affects what temperatures you can survive at. And also, we're not exactly in the age where none of us have clothes or heating or air conditioning anymore.
I think it takes that into account, though.
But let me say, these temperature standards were not developed in the time when we had a
what
lot
do you
of.
mean? You think Fahrenheit was before coats?
We didn't have the modern heating that we have now.
Yeah, put a coat on.
You do realise that clothing is the reason. You can look at clothing to see when. Oh, sorry.
Gavin, how cold is it? Rock.
We can use when pubic lice and head lice diverge to see when clothes evolved.
You can. Not all of us can.
That is how old clothing is.
Wow. Okay.
Because that's when we started to lose the hair on our bodies, and so our head and our pubic region became different.
When it's hot in summer,
places.
why don't we all get naked? Follow-up question. Bonus question time.
Wow.
I wasn't going to ask this one.
Is this double or nothing?
This double or nothing.
All the marbles.
What do I win by the end? By the way,
you win.
You win a margarita.
You win drunkenness.
Have the award right there.
Bernie says,
yes,
if we lock him in a room with a tiger, he could beat the tiger up.
Listen, you're getting it wrong again. All I'm saying is,
he's on the
So it seems to be
laptop.
not that this is bad science, just that you are woefully misunderstood.
No, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you put me, I'm not saying animals that are in the water because I'm clearly outclassed there. I'm saying that a tiger or a lion or something like that, that tiger or lion would not kill me.
Do you have anything like a knife or a
No,
gun?
that's not what you said.
No, just his bare hands.
You said you could fight any animal on land and win.
Not win. Winning to me is not being eaten by the animal, killed and eaten by the animal. Do we agree with that? If I can get the
Also, I don't think you can do that.
Also,
but okay.
I never said locked in a room because if I'm locked in a room,
you did. You said lock me in a room. It locked me in this conference room right now with a tiger. Those were your words.
Do you think you could beat
I would open the door.
Did you see that video of the hippo chasing the boat? You would be demolished by a hippo.
That's a water animal. I said no water animals.
Not water animals.
I said no water animals.
So lion,
it can
tiger,
walk
bear.
on land.
Hippo was on land.
No,
hippo,
that's a water animal.
No, it isn't.
I can get away from a hippo on land. Go, try me.
No, you could not get away from a hippo on land.
Do it all the time.
Have you seen that hippo video?
Yeah, it does. When it goes under the water and it disappears. Yeah, that's frightening.
What about an
as hell.
octopus? You see the video of
It's
the
a-
octopus
it's a
coming
water
out?
But that's water.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All these water animals.
I
A
stopped
shark,
listening.
I admit, a shark would kill me.
A tiger.
You'd be dead.
No, I got
You'd be
it.
so.
Look,
I know.
Listen,
dead.
we have
so
a scientist
fast.
telling us that you'd be dead.
You don't think that you,
Yeah.
as intelligent as you are, that you would stand a chance at fighting a tiger if
No.
you're caught in the jungle?
Well, here's what I think
you
would
don't
happen.
stand a chance.
But there are certain tribes. There's one tribe I think in Africa where the way that they get their meat is they let the lions hunt the meat, and then they go up towards the lions as a group of people and just kind of charge at it. The lions get scared, they steal some of the meat and run away, leaving some of it for the lions. But one of the things is there are lots of them, and they're in a big open space. If you can imagine that you're locked in a room.
I'm not locking myself in a room, first of
You
all.
said that.
If
That's
you're-
in the animated adventure.
If you are locked in a room with a big cat, even if you can scare it to begin with, it's going to get hungrier.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Locked in a room,
You're
no.
going to need to sleep.
If I'm locked in a room, I'm saying I could get out of the room.
Have you seen Life of Pi?
Yeah, I have seen Life.
But to be fair,
You
even
are the
if
zebra in Life of Pi.
A zebra.
Even
I've
if
never
it-
heard zebra before. I like
I've
that.
never heard zebra either.
Yeah. I've heard Zed, but
Do you
I've
feel
heard
better
zebra.
when you hear zebra?
It's a joy to the ears, honestly. But even if it wasn't based on like endurance and you having to sleep, even if you just went like 1v1 with a tiger right now, fight to the death, it would just go for your throat, probably, right? And you would do this, it would rip your arms off and then eat your throat. Like, at what point are you going to do anything? You're going to punch its
We
teeth?
even have examples of this. The Romans fought lions. They had nets and spears, and still the lions could sometimes kill the...
Yeah, they could win sometimes.
What was your strategy?
Eyes and throat. I got it.
It would just bite your fucking face off.
I'm not saying I wouldn't get hurt.
What I said was a house cat will fuck you up to the point where you don't want to touch it anymore.
House cat might fuck me up a little bit, but it's not going to get very far.
A tiger is like 100 times a house cat.
I gave my kitten a bath. It turned into the Tasmanian devil. It became dust. My toothbrush was just flying around the room.
The lion tiger doesn't even bother me a little bit. The thing that bothers me is like a silverback gorilla or a grizzly bear. Like
those are both land animals.
That's really tough.
Yeah.
That's really tough.
Did you see that video a couple weeks ago on Reddit where these people are like in a Jeep driving, I think like along a beach or a trail or something, and there's this bear running alongside them, this giant bear, and it's hauling ass. It must be doing like 35 miles an hour.
If I remember the video correctly, it was stuck, like they had carved a road through a mountain, so there was like sheer rock wall on either side, so the bear had to like run all the way down it along the side of the road in order to get away.
Yes.
And they're matching pace with it in a vehicle. Yeah.
That bear is hauling ass down that trail.
I never think of a bear being a fast animal.
Very fast.
I never think of a bear hauling ass.
Yeah, no, me either.
That bear was hauling many asses.
It just has a bag of ass and just hauling it.
Dragging it along.
I don't know if it's because I'm sitting closer to her, but I feel like the purpose of this podcast was to prove me wrong the entire time. Why do I feel like that?
I think it's because you're the most wrong.
We started with the airplane thing, which was my bad.
Yeah, why'd we start with that?
Okay.
Then it was like Bernie, Bernie, Bernie.
Did we prove me wrong at any point?
Yeah, you're awful.
No, we did.
No.
We actually reinforced you. We talked about if you're feeling sick, can you make yourself stop?
The mirror thing.
The sandwich, speed of push.
You're going
Celsius
to be
or Fahrenheit.
very popular with the audience because they always get mad at us for making fun of Gavin.
It's going to be 3 against 2 for Celsius versus Fahrenheit.
I saw many tweets that were like, "Oh my God, they actually have a scientist talking about science on the podcast."
People have been begging us for a very long time to get someone who actually knows.
This should be an annual thing. We'll come up with a bunch more within the next year.
Do it.
South by Southwest.